18th RDC meeting. Go ahead and take roll call. Christy Ott. Here. Ken Austin.
Here.
Richard Wirtz. Here. Paul Buning.
Here.
And BJ Deppie.
Here.
Also present, Rob Schaffstall and Krista Linke. So approval of minutes, the December 21st meeting. I hope everyone's had a minute to look those over. Any corrections, revisions?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Rob, Richard's on Zoom. Do we have to do like a?
Yes,
Okay.
by
Every time we vote?
name.
By name, okay. So, Christy Ott?
I don't vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
That's okay.
Ken Austin?
Yes.
Richard Wirtz? Yes. Paul Buning?
Aye.
BJ Deppie?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Election of officers. So I believe we talked about this a little bit at last meeting. Richard, I believe you're interested again in being president, correct? Is that what? Okay. Okay. And so I would open the floor for nominations.
Move I nominate Richard Wirtz.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Ken Austin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Richard Wirtz? Well, Paul Buning?
Aye.
And BJ Deppie?
Aye.
Aye as well. So motion passes. So congratulations, Richard. Thank you. Vice. Thanks.
Be careful, Richard, you may lose next time.
So Vice President, okay, this is awkward. So I would be interested again in being Vice President, so.
Make a motion for Ann McGinnis to retain her seat as Vice President. Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Ken Austin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Paul Buning?
Aye.
BJ Deppie?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. And that takes us to Secretary. BJ, you still interested, right?
I'm neither interested nor disinterested. I'll be glad to serve if people want me to. But I don't have a campaign platform or a program.
All right,
Make a motion for BJ Deppie to continue to be the secretary. Second.
first and second. Ken Austin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Paul?
Aye.
BJ?
I'll abstain.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess you should. I guess Richard too. And I vote aye. So, motion passes. Congratulations, BJ.
Thank you, I think.
Right, be careful what you wish for.
Yes, your wishes may come true.
So that takes us to old business. There is none today. So new business. A, Shell gas station located at 237 West Jefferson Street. Tim Allen.
Good morning. Thank you for hearing this. What we're doing is there's a Shell gas station getting ready to be placed over here where the Admiral used to be. Currently there's a need to place a sidewalk that will connect down to the city's parking lot off the east side of the building, as has been discussed with the planning department over several months. And there's also a need for to allow a storm sewer to connect to an existing storm sewer that crosses over into the Amphitheater's property. I don't know if you can open up the site plan that's there, and so you can take a look at that if you haven't already.
Yep. Can't see. Just thinking about it.
I have about it is with all that big blank space up on top of the drawing, I can't really tell what's there.
Say that again?
In our packet, we were furnished with a drawing. This,
Yes.
well, there's a big blank space here, and I don't keep in my mind exactly what's over there, and I would have liked to have seen something on the drawing telling me exactly what's there.
Okay, to the east is the parking lot, and there's a little island, and there's just south of the building, there's a drive that goes over to, I believe it's a donut shop over there to the west, just southwest of the building. And so there's currently I think it's like a 24-inch storm sewer that runs from the amphitheater property directly north through the proposed building, and we're looking to tie back into that storm sewer, as well as placing a sidewalk that would tie into the city's parking lot.
No, I don't object to the service station, I just would have liked more information so I could see what's there. I'm not objecting.
Okay.
I'm commenting.
Any questions or anything?
Does anyone else have any questions?
So you've been to the Board of Works on the sewer easement, or?
Everything's been approved, and we're just looking to get approval from the redevelopment, to allow us to tie in, to have these facilities on city property.
So Krista and Joanna, is there something that Joanna or Mark, is there someone with the city that can help us ascertain what's going on and what's being proposed?
Yeah. So the parking lot is actually owned by the Redevelopment Commission. Therefore, any improvements that are on the property owned by the Redevelopment Commission has to have the approval. And in this particular case, the gray area, that's the new proposed Shell station. The current Admiral runs north and south on the very east side of that property. So this building running east and west, they'll be coming out on the east side with a door, which then outlets onto the grass area of the parking lot. They're proposing then to put a walkway that goes down the grass area in that island and then to outlet into the paved area owned by the RDC. So they're needing your approval for those improvements.
And those improvements, it's my understanding that you guys have met multiple times and talked, considerably about how that, I think it's a rail, right, which is prime for skateboarders and things of that nature. What about the insurance liability? Is that on the Shell station, or is that for the city?
That's why they're here I guess this morning. I'm used to the evening meetings. And one of the reasons that sidewalk is needed is because it is in the floodplain, therefore the building has to be somewhat elevated, which requires that ramp to be there in order to meet ADA accessibility.
I think it's much needed, and I think it's just going to be a huge improvement for transition from the park up to the station. I think it's been discussed in the past about potential skateboarders on that rail and that liability, and obviously that's been covered. But I think this is a really, it's going to set off downtown Franklin, not set it off, but I just think it's going to be a great improvement with that old building being tore down, and then a brand-new building, a much larger building. I just think it's really going to, with the facade and everything that's going to be brand new there, I think it's much needed for downtown. I'm in support of the project.
And a question, did the planning and zoning approve this?
Yes, it's been through all the approvals. The only thing that we're waiting on is approval from the RDC for these improvements on the parking lot.
Thank you.
I think I raised the liability issue a couple of meetings ago, and I
Yep.
haven't heard anything that addressed my concerns.
Rob, where are we at with that?
We could look at different options to make the rail so skateboarders can't, I don't know what they call it, but grind down the top of it by putting little brackets on top of the rail to prevent them from, as you see on many of the park benches around in different areas, the limestone benches where they put different, like brass brackets or something to keep them
Right.
so they can't grind on them.
But the
So we could look at doing something like that.
But the sidewalk would be on our property.
The sidewalk would be, yes, and we could, but on the handrails that are there that you're worried about, we could put something on that.
How about we deed them the area where the sidewalk will be and let the liability be theirs? just divorce ourselves from the problem. You can have all the insurance in the world, we'll still get sued.
Right. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Either way, it'll have to come back for approval. So if we continue to own the property, then I think we're talking about giving them an easement. And we ought to have a written agreement that requires them to maintain insurance that satisfies the city requirements. If we deed them the property, there's a process for transferring property to an adjoining landowner. We could, that would also have to come back to another meeting. I think the cleanest thing to do would be to deed them the property so that we have no connection to it.
But if we own the property though, Rob, why wouldn't we insure it like we do any park or any sidewalk or whatever? I mean, I want to split hairs here, but what separates this from any other property that we own that's in a park or?
I mean, we could even place a no skateboarding sign or something like that even on there.
Which not going to deter
that-
them from doing it if they want to do it.
Liability, I don't know if that would protect liability wise, if that'd help protect.
Rob, I don't recall, is there a statutory limit on the governmental entity liability?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it sticks in my mind that there is, but I certainly don't remember whatever it is. Well, I don't mind the process going forward, since it's going to have to come back here, but I'd like to see the liability issues or the ownership issues addressed before we sign off on it. That means someone will get hurt, and we will get sued, eventually.
So do we want to table this and,
I don't mind this has to come back to us anyway, at least that's my understanding.
Oh, sorry.
So one of the things is also timing. They have all of their plans for construction already in, and at this point, we are not releasing any permits, which is fine if you would want to table it, but is it something that you would feel comfortable with to allow them to actually start construction? Or do you prefer that we then hold all permits and approvals until this is officially worked through?
Would all construction and improvements include the sidewalk that we're talking about?
They would not be to that point.
That'd be a ways out.
Yeah, that would be near
That'd be
the
last
end
thing.
of the,
Well, if we're not talking about the sidewalk at this point, I'm okay. I just want to make sure it gets addressed later in some fashion, whether it's deeding it to them or finding out if there's a statutory limit on liability and making sure we have at least that much insurance, if not more. I mean, you look at the courthouse, do people skateboard over there? Yeah. Does anybody stop it? No. Eventually, someone will get hurt.
and we can issue the permits with the condition that final inspection cannot be scheduled until all the concerns of the RDC has been through that process. I mean, we're going to be a number of months out before we're even to that point.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Richard?
Yes, I have a question for Krista and Rob. With all of the other projects we have downtown and the amphitheater, don't we have adequate insurance in case of liability suit in place?
Yes, we do. I mean, I can't tell you exactly what all the particulars are of it, but we do maintain insurance through the Redevelopment Commission, and I can get a copy of that.
Man, I don't know if I can do this, no, but I will make a motion to move forward and have Krista and Rob look
Second.
So we have a motion second. Ken?
Aye.
Richard? Paul?
Aye.
BJ?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Aye. So motion passes. So Krista, Rob, you'll look into that and let us know?
Yep.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to Youngs Creek Park, the amphitheater project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Trent Newport with Crossroad Engineers, and Mark's with me as well. So we're here to just answer any questions and give a general update of the amphitheater project. As you can see, we are, still have some construction items remaining, but a lot was accomplished in 2021. Basically, the things that are going to continue over the winter are, as weather allows, some final dirt moving, but the big item is the concrete right around the amphitheater building is yet to be all finished, and you know, they're pouring whenever weather allows. So when it gets too cold, like it has been the last few days, they're not pouring, but they're basically, say if they get temperatures in the 40s, then they'll be pouring, and they probably have, I would say, maybe 6 or 7 more concrete pours to be completed with that. And then everything else is, say, top coat of the asphalt layers in certain areas, some other siding areas and minor grading, all things that are really temperature sensitive that are probably going to have to wait till April. Everybody is very aware of the first event that's scheduled in May, and that is ultimately our deadline. And so we all feel comfortable that we're going to meet that. But obviously the project, we were hoping to be done last July, and had quite a few delays. Some were just contractor delays, and some were with issues that we found out there that were underground that we had to deal with, and so forth. And so there's quite a few long list of some delays that put us where we are, but we're getting close to the finish line, and you can obviously see parts of the final product with the playground being vertical and the sod being placed and the amphitheater and the restroom buildings and such. Be happy to answer.
Trent, are all of the inspections completed?
No. We are continuing with inspection, and I think we've done some inspections. Your building inspectors have been involved in the restrooms, but I don't know that anything has been final signed off on.
No, it has not yet.
Yeah. So the restroom buildings are probably the one thing that's out of our realm as far as giving a final inspection and saying you're good to go, and that's your building inspector, but they've been involved in the process. So, I would say just like the project, we're 90 to 95% done with the inspections.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think the reason that we had asked for the update today is there was some concern with the ongoing inspection costs since the project is taking so much
Yeah.
longer. And so I just wanted to see if what your thoughts were on how to handle that moving forward.
Yeah, sorry, I was saving the best for last.
I stole your thunder.
So we are at the end of our budget, and we've been trying for months to minimize our time on the project and only be there when it's absolutely critical. We obviously have some things to still be on site for this winter during the concrete pours, and then some finish up stuff in the spring. But we are literally out of our inspection budget at this point. I'd say within a few $100s of the last invoice that we sent at the end of the year, at the end of December. And so Mark and Krista and I sat down a month ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, to look at just overall some projects and some monies that we were not going to be using or being released on some other projects that have been going on over the past few years, like 525 out east, Jim Black Road, and so on and so forth. Now, I don't know that helps the matter, because those are maybe different bonds than this project, and also just because there were monies left over doesn't mean that you still have to reappropriate funds going forward, and I understand that. But we're estimating to get to the finish line with the project on the inspection side being somewhere in a range of $30,000 to $50,000. And again, we're going to try to do our best to manage that and stay on the bottom end of that. But that's an estimate based on the work that's remaining at this point. And so that would be a question of how do we, try to go about funding that, whether it's through the 31 TIF bond or if that one's maxed out, what are other options?
So Trent, did you underbid it, or what's the?
Our work is hourly, with an estimate of a ceiling, and we've reached that ceiling. Obviously, what we do is we put together hours on a project of this nature and size based on the schedule of the project. So we had intended to be out here in full force through, say, August or September based on the original schedule. We were out in full force through November and now carrying through with some stuff in the winter and the spring. So this is our work, not the contractor's bid
I understand.
that we're talking about. But the delays that happen with the project and other things that popped up are what has put us in this position. So we were able to stretch it. I mean, I feel good about how far we were able to stretch that budget by monitoring our time and stretch it from, say, August, September to the end of the year. And it's not something I take lightly. It's not something that you've seen me come back here and ask for very often, or most times are very proud of being under our budgets. But in this case, the timing of the project just extended quite a bit, so.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I think the last time we did this, we went through the Board of Works,
We did.
and this discussion here, we can have going through the Board of Works as well.
Okay.
So, just so you know, we'll talk about this later, the Board of Works and the Redevelopment Commission, we all work together, and this is one I think that we can handle with the Board of Works. So,
And I would add that in addition to the original construction bid, there have been some change orders, some additional scope added to the project, which have stretched the timeline out. And as Trent explained earlier, there have been some unexpected, unforeseen issues, especially with foundation materials and unsuitable soils to be left in place. So that's increased the scope of work that Crossroad has had to perform.
Krista, what's the total of the amphitheater currently? Where are we at currently?
I'm looking at, I know we figured this out, with the change orders, Mark, and I think it was on your financials, I think it was increased to $5,837,082. And then, of course, that doesn't include the design contract, which we paid for, and then the inspection, which you'll see later, there's $13 remaining in 67 cents. So adding all those together would give you that total amount.
And Krista, I don't think that includes some of the items that are being paid for out of other budgets. For instance,
Yeah.
Grants for Splash Park and the playground.
Right, yeah, there have been several, I know parks, we've worked with parks, they've paid $250,000 through that grant for the splash pad. And then that's through the Indian American Water, or American Water, I always get that wrong, Mayor. And then I know Duke we've got some grants through Duke as well, so.
Mayor?
also, as well, if you remember the last meeting, we were here talking about the change orders. Krista and I sat down with Chip,
Yeah.
and we found a place to pay for a lot of those change orders through the Parks Department.
We're still looking at about 6.5 million approximately, which is a lot of money that we've spent for that. It's a lot of money.
Krista, is this something that in the next month you could have a budget, how we could handle $30,000 to $50,000 in inspection fees to complete the project?
I think the mayor just addressed that, Richard. That's going to be taken care of at the Board of Works.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And I'm sure by the end of the project, we can put together a list of kind of where all of the different monies are coming from. We have all of that information. It's just a matter of kind of line
Breaking it all
itemizing
down.
and I'm breaking it all down. Everything's accounted for that we're paying for on our financial reports, but there are several other sources. We can share that with you if you'd like to just see it.
I will say, Ken, just to respond to your comment, it is a significant cost project. The good news is you got in before COVID caused quite a bit of issues with supply chain cost.
Of course.
We were working on a couple other projects in some other communities of like the similar nature of this that are not as fortunate.
Right.
To get ahead of that curve. And I do think you're gonna, see next year what an impact this project can make to the downtown.
Oh, I don't
So
think there's
I'm hopeful
any
that
doubt.
everybody's gonna think it's well worth every penny.
Yeah, me too.
And I recall too, when we first met with Shrewsbury, that, they were telling us this was gonna be a $9 to $10 million project, and I know the mayor and several others worked really hard to get that number down. I mean, we've still done a lot of things that we had to cancel out, and we've found creative ways to bring those back, and.
Yeah, some
I d-
grants to bring those back.
Yeah, I
and-
don't know that anything's missing that we wanted to see that,
Yeah.
there now. I think we've done pretty much everything that we wanted to, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. All right, so that takes us to our endless list of resolutions. Resolution 2022-01, utilities and maintenance expenses for 2022.
So this is your yearly utilities and maintenance expenses. This is the amount that we've used the last several years. You'll see on the financial reports that we didn't spend very much out of that this year. $390 is what we actually spent in 2021. So I don't anticipate needing that, but there have been years past, like last year, we did some resurfacing in those parking lots. Parks Department has been kind enough to kind of take over the mowing and those kinds of things, so that had previously come out of here, but in case we need it, that would cover any kind of utilities and maintenance expenses for properties owned by the Redevelopment Commission.
Any questions?
This is the same resolution we've basically seen every year for X number of years.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. In that case, I'll move to approve.
Well, we need to conduct a public
Excuse me.
hearing.
You are correct.
Okay,
You're correct as usual.
so I'll open it up for public hearing. Any public comments, questions? Hearing none, close the public meeting. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll do it again.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Ken?
Aye.
Richard?
Yes.
Paul?
Aye.
BJ?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Takes us to Resolution 2022-02, legal, financial, and professional services fees and expenses.
This is, again, the same resolution that you've had the last several years, and this covers both legal expenses through Rob Schaffstall, and then anything with Jeff Peters, or any kind of professional service fees that we end up needing throughout the year.
What's the number on that?
It's $50,000.
No, I meant the resolution number.
Oh, 2202.
And I'll open it up for public hearing. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, I close the meeting, public meeting, and entertain.
Move to approve Resolution 2022-02.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ken?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
BJ?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Resolution 2022-03, required bond payments relative to the 2019 lease rental revenue bond.
And these are the two bond payments. This is for the US 31 TIF district, and so this is paid out of the US 31 TIF district. That's the total amount paid for 2022.
Okay, open it up for a public hearing. Any questions? Hearing none, I close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Ken?
Aye.
Richard? Paul?
Aye.
BJ?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Resolution 2022-4, required bond payment relative to the 2015 TIF bond.
And this is from the integrated TIF. And this is for the 2015 bond that was approved. And this is our 2 yearly payments that we make, and that's the total for both of those.
Okay, I would open it up for public hearing. Entertain any questions, comments? Hearing none, close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Ken?
Aye.
Richard? Paul?
Aye.
And BJ?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Resolution 2022-05, Yandy Street Rehabilitation Project.
I'll let Mark take this one.
Just to give some background, last meeting I provided a report on the Yandy Street project and outlined why we did not award the project at the November letting. It is on the schedule for the February letting. The costs associated with this resolution are $400,000 for the originally determined or estimated local match for the project. The original cost estimate was right around $2 million, so $400,000 was the 20% local match. It also includes the full amount of inspection, which is about $250,000. Pardon me. And then finally, there was a supplement that was needed for the design fees of $24,500 to resubmit the final tracings, make design revisions, and basically to resubmit the to NDOT. So the total of this is $672,900. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mark, I don't recall the particulars, but at the last meeting where this was discussed, there was, I don't know if I want to use the word shortfall, but how have funds been moved around or whatever to address that?
Yes, they have been moved around. That was actually described on the memo that I provided the Redevelopment Commission. I don't have that in front of me, but we have assigned some costs to the Board of Works for things like lighting. Let's see, what else?
The reimbursable from the water company, I think that was
Reimbursable from, yeah, the water company. We also did secure additional funding in the amount of about $530,000 from the MPO for the project.
Okay, I remember you mentioning that
Yeah.
before, thank you.
And then part of that too was we had, I think about 248,000 that was gonna be 80% reimbursed or 90%
Yes, it was
reimbursed.
80% reimbursement for the inspection.
And so part of that agreement is that will no longer be reimbursed to the RDC.
That's correct. So there is about $200,000 in additional cost to the RDC, but that's by far the smallest percentage of the estimated cost increase. Oh, yeah. The other big thing was stormwater. The stormwater utility will be paying for stormwater-related features.
Mayor, maybe you can help me remember, I know it's been many years ago when we received the check downtown on that beautiful summer day for the Yandy Street project. What was that, 1.8 million or 2 million or 1 million?
It's now about 2.2, is that correct? With the 500.
It's about, yes, it is about 2.2 million. The original check for construction was about 1.5 million.
Okay. I know it was a big check.
I should know what that is. I walk by it every day. It's still upstairs.
I thought I saw it upstairs too.
I don't know, though.
It's hard to go through the drive-through at Mutual and stick it in the suction cup thing to go
That's
through
right.
there.
I tried.
Are there any other questions for Mark? No? Okay, so I'll open it up for public hearing. Any questions, comments from the public? Hearing none, close the public meeting, and I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve Resolution 2022-05.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ken?
Aye.
Richard? Paul?
Aye.
BJ?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Resolution 2022-06, Jim Black Road.
Yes, this is a resolution for acquisition of right-of-way for Jim Black Road project. We've already acquired right-of-way for Phase 1, and that project's completed. Phase 2, which will extend north to McLean Drive, is going to be bid later this month, actually next week. Phase 3 is also going to be bid as an alternate at the same bid opening. It does not appear we'll be able to award that at this time, but we'll wait to make a final decision until we get the actual bids open. But this is for acquisition of right-of-way for phases 2 and 3.
Mark, what's the time frame for completion? I know you haven't, we don't know that exactly yet, but what's your thought on it?
For Phase 2 is, what is it, July of this year? Yeah, at the latest. And then Phase 3 would most likely be constructed in 2023. So it would be same time period, the July or August timeframe of '23.
Phase 2, is it going to be 3 lanes?
Yes, the same design as
Okay.
Phase 1.
And that in Phase 3 as well, all the way to the stop sign?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And you actually approved this resolution last year, 2021. It was Resolution 2021-16. Because it's right-of-way, it wasn't able to be encumbered because there's different names that it would need to be paid to, and so that's why we were
Right.
needing a new resolution.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'd open up for a public hearing. No questions, comments? Close the public hearing, and I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ken?
Aye.
Richard? Paul?
Aye.
BJ?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Resolution 2022-07, Commerce Drive and Graham Road right-of-way.
This is very similar to the last resolution. There were 4 parcels to be acquired for this roundabout project. It is also going to letting, or a bid opening next week. We have acquired and closed on 2 of the right-of-way parcels. 2 of the others, basically, we weren't able to get those completed by the end of the year, so we need to re-encumber the $6,600 that is listed in this resolution for the last 2 parcels.
Any questions? Okay, I'd open up for public hearing. Hearing no comments, questions, I would close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Ken?
Aye.
Richard? Paul?
Aye.
And BJ?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So that takes us to other business, December 2021 financial reports.
Okay. So I went ahead and added to this financial report another column to show you which resolutions had been encumbered and which ones were either complete or would need a new resolution. So you can see that in the column under estimated cash balance at the end of the year, that last column on the right. One thing I wanted to point out was the December 2020 paid 2021 property taxes. We had programmed in there based on what we received last year at this time. for the 2019 pay 2020, and that was closer to $2 million that we had received. There were a number of appeals to assessed value. I'm gonna try to can't find that paper here. That made that disbursement lower this year, which was rather disappointing. So you'll see we received the $1,678,000. So just to give you a little background, the Meyer net assessed value was reduced from $10,082,000 to $8,700,000. So that's a almost $4 million difference. And then Kroger, their net assessed value was 7.9. It was adjusted to 6.9, so another $1 million there. And then Cooper Tire, which is in a different TIF district than the Meyer and Kroger. So this was spread out through both TIF districts, but their net assessed value, because it's now a vacant building, went from $28 million to $24 million, so $4.4 million difference there. So the same, we were expecting 1.9 in 2021. That went up to just over 2 million. So we've always gotten some bit of an increase. Instead, we received the 1.678. Same thing, and I'll show you that on the next financial report, was for the US 31 TIF district. So in 2020, we received 374,000. And then in 2021, we received 440,000. So we were expecting the 440,000 plus. We received 346. So those were lower as well. There could be other reasons for the differences than just the net assessed value and the changes there. Sometimes taxes are paid late, and that throws the numbers off. So we could receive more in our next disbursement. Jeff Peters is kind of working on that. Also, in April, the county puts out the numbers for taxes that will be due this year in May. And so we will see, based on the tax bills that go out in April, what is due this year. So we could maybe plan based on what is actually going to be due this year versus kind of those anticipated increases. The issue with the changes in the assessment, or they don't do those until the tax bills go out. And I have asked the county to let us know if any assessed value is appealed, and they did not do that. So I will follow up with them just to make sure this year and every year going forward that if anything has been appealed or is on hold, that we find out about that more in advance than when we receive the payment and are shocked. So,
Krista, I understand, or I would guess you don't have actual numbers yet on how much available funds to us, by how much they'll be decreased. Would that be correct?
not till April.
Okay, that's
Correct.
what I thought I was hearing.
Yep, yeah. And then I will just keep following up with them to see if there are any appeals throughout the rest of the year. But, I mean, they can appeal them at any time. Typically, they do that when the tax bills come out in April, so.
So all in all, Krista, the overall impact here at this commission, I mean, it's directly going to affect us by what anticipated number of those,
Yeah,
the
so,
decrease in revenue?
so for this TIF district, the integrated TIF district, it's just over $300,000 of an impact of revenue that in your cash flow, which we'll talk about next, that number went from 2 million to what we actually received, the 678,000. So.
That's not good.
Is not the news we were hoping to hear, but you can still see, though, what we've received, even if all of these resolutions were expended. This is our estimated cash balance at the end of the year. I can tell you, because I have those reports now from the clerk's office, that our cash balance at the end of the year was just over 2.5 million, because all of those resolutions were not expended by the end of the year. So then obviously this morning, we just approved 6 resolutions for over $2 million. So in your January report, you'll see what those actual numbers are, but again, that's why we do the cash flow analysis, because it gives you a little bit better idea of kind of the real-time, what projects
Yeah.
are costing, so. The next one is the US 31, or I actually switched the orders of these because we always seem to talk about the bond numbers, which feed into the US 31 report, and so this just shows you the balance beginning of the year, the revenue, which is basically investments that we've cashed in. We've spent $6 million of this bond. We still have 408 invested, 2.67 in remaining appropriations. So that gives you your negative bond balance of 975,000. So we spend that bond totally down, and then anything that we need after that comes out of the US 31 TIF balance, which is your next report. And I know the mayor mentioned earlier that negative bond balance of 975,000. We have met with Chip and the Parks Department, and they do have some funds that they're looking at paying for some of these, like the signage. There's 100,000 for that. The playground surfacing, we've talked about a couple of these expenses here at the bottom that were additional increases that may be able to be paid for through the Parks Department, but until we've decided that, I don't have those listed on here. So that's kind of your worst case scenario for that one. And so then you'll see on the next page, the US 31 TIF district. So even with that, we did have a ending cash balance of just over 1.3 million in that account. We had talked about doing a cash flow for this TIF district now that we're starting to kind of plan for some additional projects through here. So I just added it to this sheet. I didn't want to create a whole additional report. We have so many financial reports already. So what I did is I just took the actual ending cash balance here at the bottom, which was 1,685,000. That was our actual. And then I went ahead and used the numbers for what we received. So this is very conservative. Hopefully these will be higher. This is what we received for the December payments, and I used that for both May and December of this year coming up. And then expenditures, we have our bond payments, which you just approved. Those are combined into one resolution. And then that negative bond balance that I mentioned, the 975,000, so hopefully that will go down. We do know that there's going to be some additional right-of-way for the US 31 project, and so we have 100,000 budgeted there. So those expenses are budgeted at 1.6 million. So if you take that and the receipts and our beginning balance, that still gives you a projected fund balance at the end of this year of 715,000 for this TIF district. So hopefully that's helpful for you to kind of see cash flow wise with what we have planned for the US 31 TIF district. And then until that gets to be too many lines to keep it all on one page, I'll probably keep those reports combined. Questions?
Yeah, Krista, this is probably way in advance, but has work actually started on right-of-way acquisition on 31?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the, was already part of the design contract with Crossroads, and I know that they've been working on that quite a bit.
No, but I mean actual acquisition. I know they've been working on it.
Yes.
Yes.
We're in appraising and buying on parcels in what's phase one of the project.
Okay, thank you.
There's like 5 phases of the project, so we're obviously concentrating those on in order.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Move on to the January 2022 cash flow analysis.
Okay, so I did pass those out. Hopefully you all have those. So a lot of changes here, just mainly because this takes us into 2022. So you'll see here the resolutions that were encumbered, that were listed. This column shows you everything that's been spent, the through 2021. That's through the end of 2021, what has been spent, and then what we anticipate to spend in 2022. So on this report now, you see the ending balance from 2021, and then you see what's planned to be spent in 2022, and then I've added 2023 to this report. Main things that you want to look at, what was actually spent in 2021, the total at the bottom is $4,218,000. What we plan to spend for 2022 is $4,900,000. And then planned for 2023 is the $2,487,000. And so that's based on projects that are listed here. So you have the approved projects, and then I will, like the resolutions that we approved today, these three resolutions, so the Yandy Street, the first three under projects under consideration. So that's that 400,000, the 248,000, and then the design supplement that Mark mentioned, that adds up to that one resolution amount of 600 and some thousand that was approved earlier. Other things that still we know are going to be needed this year, there's going to be the Bartram Parkway patching, mill and overlay. There's some issues there. The Jim Black Road, luckily we got some community crossings funds for that, so I've showed, whereas previously we had 496,000 programmed there, now that's down to 258,000, so that's good there, and that would be for 2022. Phase 3, the actual construction for Jim Black Road Phase 3, that's 985,000, so that's planned for 2023. And then the big project for this year is the Commerce Drive and Graham Road construction. And I did put a note on there. Design is paid for through the Board of Works, but that is the 1.7 million, which is shown there. And then along with that, we have inspection. And then starting at the bottom, just keeping in mind that we have programmed for 2024, the Earlywood and Graham construction for that roundabout. And so I did, again, update those numbers at the bottom. So this is very conservative, but based on what we received at the end of 2021, I used those same numbers for 2022. I know I've said this like 5 times. Hopefully those will be higher. But still, it's tight, but we're not negative like we were at one point years ago. So that's always a good thing. So our net cash flow is shown there. The projected funds balance is shown there at the bottom. And then as we get any kind of new numbers, I'll update this for you based on any projects that are complete or monies received. So.
Okay. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Krista, for the detailed explanation of the situation.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
A lot of info.
It's a lot of information, so yeah, feel free to call if you have questions.
Okay. Let me get back to my agenda here. I lost it. All right, that takes us to public comment, announcements. Rosie?
Well, the state of the city address originally scheduled for February, so we talked down the road just a bit because of rising cases of COVID, so we're hopeful that we'll be able to do it in March. But we're gonna, put that date, March 10th, in pencil in your calendar. We're just gonna keep evaluating as we get closer and see if we need to take it further down the road or have something.
Okay, thank you. Amanda?
Lead activities pick right back up after the first of the year, so that's exciting to see. We've got projects moving through most of our communities, public processes right now. And we're working on a virtual familiarization tour with some site selectors, and actually meeting today with a consultant and our festival country folks to have some more video assets put together so that all of our communities can utilize.
Okay, thank you. Dana, do you have anything?
Starting compliance, so we're going through all of that process, and as Amanda said, we're continuing to have companies calling and coming in to see. I'm actually going around with the site selector this afternoon, showing her some sites.
Oh, good,
Staying very busy.
good. And last but not least, Mayor, you have any comments?
Just want to say we're looking forward to a good, exciting year as always, it is a little disappointing that our assessor would reassess some businesses and didn't even contact us and let us know and give us an opportunity to reply back. So I guess they can just do that. I do think that, as Trent talked about earlier, we may start to see bids coming in higher and higher. And I think that we've demonstrated in the past, like Yandy Street, we rejected the bid. Last year, we rejected some blacktop stuff through the Board of Works that we thought was outrageous. And we're hoping that this roundabout that we're doing at Graham and Commerce doesn't come in too high, because it is subject to be rejected as well. So just want to make everybody there, we got to live within our means and do what we need to do. So far, we've been able to manage our funds, and we're still able to manage our funds, working together with the Board of Works and the Redevelopment Commission and City Council, and who we need to work with to make things work out for us and keep moving forward. So hopefully we can keep doing that. I have been asked before, why didn't you make us aware of something? So I am going to make you aware of something out on the east side that I am totally against. I seen some steaks the other day out by McDonald's, and there's a body shop looking to put a body shop right there. If you know what a body shop looks like, with junk cars sitting around fenced-in areas, I just do not believe that is the area that we need that. So as Redevelopment Commission members who have spent a lot of funds trying to make that area special, I believe I would reach out to the owners of the property and voice your concerns and see if there's a better use for that property than a body shop that's going to look like a junkyard on the east side. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
Okay. Well, if anyone else have any questions, comments? Council, no one?
Not this time.
And I'll see you.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else,
Good work today, Ann.
oh, thank you. Thanks. So do we need to move to adjourn? Because then we have to do. Thank you. We're done. Meeting adjourned.